Imagine standing in front of a mirror, staring at your reflection and realizing that the person you've been chasing isn't someone else. It's yourself. For years you've sought approval, validation and love from the outside world, believing that happiness was somewhere beyond your reach. You've chased friends, partners, careers, recognition, yet the emptiness never went away. What if I told you that the moment you stop chasing others, the moment you stop bending, compromising, and pleasing for the sake of acceptance, is the moment your life begins to change? That your worth, your joy, your power have been inside you all along, waiting quietly for you to notice. Today, you're about to embark on a journey to reclaim your self-love, to understand your true value, and to create a life that no one else can define. By the end of this audiobook, you will stop running after people who don't see your light and start shining it fully for yourself. This is not just a story, it is a revolution, your revolution. Chapter 1. The cost of chasing others. Have you ever stopped in the middle of your day and felt exhausted? Not just physically, but deep down, in a way that gnaws at your heart and clouds your mind. That exhaustion is rarely about what you're doing. It's about who you've been chasing. For years, maybe even decades, you've been running after approval, running after recognition, running after love that you believe exists somewhere beyond your reach. You give your time, your energy, your very essence, hoping that someone will see you, validate you, and finally make you feel whole. And yet somehow the satisfaction never lasts. The approval is fleeting, the applause fades, and suddenly you're left wondering if you'll ever be enough. Think about it. Every time you change yourself to fit someone else's expectations, you subtract a piece of your own soul. Every time you say yes when your heart screams no, you are telling yourself quietly, almost invisibly, that your needs, your desires, your peace are less important than someone else's approval. And each of those small compromises accumulates like invisible weights pressing on your shoulders. It's subtle at first. A missed opportunity here, a quiet resentment there. You might even rationalize it. I'm just being kind, or I'm helping, or it's easier this way. But deep down, there's a voice you can't ignore. A quiet, persistent whisper that says, something is wrong here. You are not living for yourself. And that's the truth. Chasing others is exhausting because it's built on a lie. The lie that your happiness depends on someone else. That your worth is measured by the people who choose to stay, or by the people who notice, or by the validation you can squeeze from the world around you. It's a seductive illusion, because the world has perfected ways to make you doubt yourself. Social media, comparisons, subtle judgments, whispered opinions, they all conspire to pull you away from the only source of true fulfillment, you. Here's a question: how much of your life has been spent trying to please someone else? How many moments have slipped through your fingers while you sought approval that never truly satisfied? The truth is, we often chase because it feels safer than facing the emptiness inside. It's easier to hustle for someone else's love than to confront the quiet loneliness of our own company. But here's the secret: the freedom, the awakening, the profound relief comes the moment you stop running, the moment you stop seeking in the world what has always been inside. When you stop chasing others, the air feels different. Your body exhales a weight it didn't know it was carrying. Your mind clears, and suddenly you see yourself with clarity, not through the lens of expectation or comparison, but as a complete, worthy, and infinitely capable human being. It's a strange paradox, isn't it? The very thing we spend our lives seeking, love, validation, peace, is waiting inside, quietly, patiently, for us to turn toward it. And yet it is only when we stop chasing, stop bending, stop sacrificing ourselves for the sake of others, that we can finally find it. I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine waking up one morning and feeling no need for approval. Imagine making choices not to impress, not to conform, not to win anyone's favor, but because it feels right to you. Imagine living your life from a place of fullness rather than lack. That fullness, that radiant sense of being enough, is not a dream. It is your birthright. It is the life waiting for you on the other side of the chase. But first, you must recognize the cost. Every relationship you bend yourself for, every moment you prioritize someone else's comfort over your own, every smile you fake to be liked, each carries a subtle but real price. It steals your energy, your time, your clarity. It dims your light so gently that you barely notice it, until you're standing in the dark, wondering how you got there. And here's the truth you need to hear. You cannot pour from an empty cup. You cannot offer love, respect, or attention to others when you have starved yourself of these very things. The world may reward you temporarily for your efforts, a compliment, a fleeting moment of approval. But in the long run, chasing others leaves you drained, hollow, and disconnected from your own soul. Some of you may be thinking, but I'm not chasing anyone. I'm just trying to be a good person, a good partner, a good friend. And that is precisely why this chapter matters. There is a difference between generosity and sacrifice that diminishes you. There is a difference between giving with joy and giving from fear of rejection. And it is the silent, subtle moments of fear-driven giving that slowly erode your sense of self. So what does it mean to stop chasing? It doesn't mean becoming selfish. It doesn't mean isolating yourself or shutting the world out. It means returning to yourself. It means observing your habits, your motivations, your fears, and choosing differently. It means pausing before you say yes. It means feeling before you comply. It means listening to the small voice inside that has been trying to guide you all along. This chapter is the beginning of that journey. The first step is awareness. Awareness that chasing others comes at a cost. Awareness that your peace, your joy, your sense of self are far more valuable than anyone's fleeting approval. Awareness that you are not a secondary character in someone else's story. You are the hero of your own. Take a moment now, right here, to let that sink in. Feel the weight of your past pursuits and let it rise into clarity. Feel the release that comes from simply acknowledging the truth. You have been chasing, but now you are awake. You have been seeking, but now you are ready to turn inward. You have been waiting for the world to tell you your worth, but now you are beginning to tell yourself. And as you step forward into this journey, know that every chapter ahead will guide you deeper. You will uncover patterns you didn't see. You will discover practices that restore your energy. You will learn how to cultivate the kind of self-love that is both gentle and fierce, practical and profound. You will learn how to stop running and start living fully. For now, let this awareness settle. Let it resonate. The cost of chasing others has been high, but the reward of turning toward yourself, of loving yourself first, is higher still. And that is where we begin. In the next chapter, we will explore the patterns that have kept you running and why awareness alone is the key to unlocking a new way of living, a life where you are no longer chasing, but thrive. Chapter 2. Recognizing your own patterns. Have you ever noticed how we often repeat the same mistakes, the same heartbreaks, the same disappointments, as if life itself is asking us to wake up? We chase the same people, seek the same approval, and recreate the same situations, expecting a different outcome. And yet, nothing changes until we pause long enough to look at our own patterns. Patterns are subtle. They hide in the quiet moments between decisions, in the invisible threads that guide our choices, in the way we respond to others and the world around us. Sometimes they are obvious. Always saying yes when you want to say no, always forgiving too quickly, always bending your own truth to fit someone else's expectation. Sometimes they are hidden beneath layers of justification, excuses and rationalizations that make them seem normal. But here's the crucial truth. Patterns are the silent architects of our lives. They shape the way we love, the way we give, the way we define our worth. And until we recognize them, they keep us running in circles, chasing what cannot be caught, seeking validation that will never satisfy, and living in a constant loop of unfulfilled longing. Think back over your life. Do you notice the moments when you felt drained, unappreciated, or invisible? Trace those moments back. Was there a common thread? Perhaps it was a tendency to please at your own expense, to prioritize someone else's happiness over your own. Perhaps it was a fear of rejection, a quiet whisper that told you, if they don't like me, I am not enough. Patterns are not a condemnation. They are a map, a guide that, when followed carefully, reveals exactly where change is needed. Recognition is the first step. Awareness is the spark that lights the path from unconscious repetition to conscious choice. Until you see your patterns clearly, the cycle continues. But the moment you see them, the moment you name them, you gain the power to break free. Let me tell you a story. There was a woman who spent her entire life seeking love from people who were emotionally unavailable. She didn't know why she was drawn to these relationships. She blamed fate, or timing, or bad luck. But when she finally paused, reflected, and examined her choices, she saw the truth. She was recreating childhood patterns of seeking approval from those who couldn't give it. Awareness changed everything. She began to recognize the subtle cues that once drew her into these relationships. She began to honor her needs. She began to stop chasing. And as she did, love began to flow to her in ways she had never imagined, from herself and from those who truly valued her. Your patterns, too, tell a story. Your story. And your story is not fixed. You can trace the loops, identify the triggers, and consciously choose a new path. You can see the invisible strings that have controlled your decisions and begin to cut them one by one. You can reclaim your energy, your focus, and your peace. But this requires courage. Recognition is not always comfortable. Sometimes it is painful. You may see moments where you compromised your own integrity, ignored your own needs, or gave too much of yourself without return. You may feel regret, or anger, or sadness. That is natural. That is part of the process. Facing your patterns honestly is not weakness, it is strength. It is the willingness to meet yourself fully, without excuses, without blame, without avoid. As you recognize your patterns, another truth emerges. You are not broken. You are not flawed. Patterns exist in all of us. They are formed from experiences, beliefs, and survival mechanisms that once served you, even if imperfectly. They are simply habits of the heart and mind, habits that can be observed, understood, and transformed. Here's a practice to consider. Begin to watch your reactions and choices without judgment. Notice the situations where you feel compelled to seek approval or to give more than you can sustain. Observe how often you adjust yourself to fit someone else's expectations. Notice the moments when fear, anxiety, or insecurity drives your decisions. This is not to shame yourself. It is to illuminate the path forward. Awareness is the foundation of transformation. Recognizing your own patterns also means noticing the stories you tell yourself, the internal narratives that justify chasing others. I have to be liked. I have to be needed. I have to make them happy, or they won't. These stories are like invisible chains, shaping your actions and thoughts without you even realizing it. And when you begin to notice them, you realize they are just stories. They can be rewritten. They can be released. Imagine standing at the edge of a dense forest, knowing that each tree represents a repeated choice, a habit, a pattern that has shaped your life. You cannot see through it all at once. But if you begin to walk carefully, one step at a time, observing what is around you, the path begins to open. The forest does not confine you. It guides you. Recognition is your flashlight. Awareness is your compass. And here's the most profound part. Once you recognize your patterns, you reclaim control. No longer are you at the mercy of unconscious habit. No longer are you trapped in cycles of chasing and pleasing. You begin to choose differently. You begin to act from self-awareness, self-respect, and self-love. And when that happens, your relationships, your work, and your entire life begin to shift in ways that feel effortless, natural, and deeply aligned with who you truly are. Recognition also creates space for compassion. Compassion for yourself. When you see your patterns, you may notice mistakes, missteps, or moments of weakness. Instead of judgment, offer understanding. Recognize that you have done the best you could with the awareness you had at the time. Treat yourself as you would treat someone you deeply care about. Self-compassion is the bridge between awareness and transformation. Now take a moment to consider this. The patterns you recognize today are not your sentence. They are your invitation, an invitation to step off the treadmill of chasing, to pause, and to choose a new way. An invitation to see yourself with clarity, to honor your needs, and to create boundaries that protect your energy and your heart. As you step forward from this chapter, carry this awareness with you. Watch for the patterns in your life that have kept you running after others. Observe them without judgment, and begin to imagine a life where your choices are guided by self-love rather than fear. Imagine the freedom, the clarity, the peace that awaits on the other side of recognition. And with that awareness firmly rooted, we are ready to take the next step. In the following chapter, we will explore what self-love truly means, not as an idea, but as a living, breathing practice that transforms every aspect of your life. The journey from recognition to transformation is about to begin. Chapter 3. Understanding Self-Love. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine a life where your own presence is enough, where you wake up in the morning and the first thought that greets you is not, "Do they approve of me?" or "Am I doing enough for them?" but rather, "I am here, and I am enough." That feeling, that deep, unwavering certainty, is what we call self-love. Self-love is not a luxury. It is not indulgence. It is not a fleeting moment of pride or ego. Self-love is the foundation upon which every healthy relationship, every meaningful choice, and every fulfilling experience in your life is built. Without it, you chase endlessly. People, validation, achievements, as if grabbing at shadows, hoping that something external will finally make you feel complete. Think of self-love as a garden. The soil is your awareness, your boundaries, your respect for yourself. The seeds are your choices, your habits, and the thoughts you nurture each day. If you water them with care, if you protect them from toxins and neglect, the garden flourishes. Flowers bloom, fruits appear, life feels abundant. But neglect the garden. Give it only scraps of attention, or let weeds of self-doubt and comparison take root, and the garden withers, leaving you longing for something you cannot see or touch. The tragedy of many lives is that self-love is often overlooked, ignored, or misunderstood. We are taught to give, to serve, to please, and while generosity is beautiful, it becomes destructive when it comes at the cost of your own well-being. Loving yourself first is not selfish. It is survival. It is reclamation. It is the acknowledgement that your needs, your desires, and your happiness are valid and essential. Consider this. How often do you silence your own voice to accommodate someone else? How often do you ignore the small whispers of your intuition, telling you this isn't right for you, or you deserve more? These whispers are the seeds of self-love, trying to grow within you. And every time you ignore them, you reinforce the belief that your worth depends on external validation. True self-love begins with attention. Paying attention to your emotions, your thoughts, your desires, not with judgment, but with curiosity. When you notice what makes your heart heavy, what drains your energy, and what brings genuine joy. You are mapping the terrain of your inner world. You are learning what nourishes you and what diminishes you. And only then can you begin to protect and nurture yourself consciously. Let me share a story. There was a man who spent decades chasing approval, at work, in friendships, and in love. He was constantly performing, constantly giving, constantly measuring himself against the expectations of others. And yet, no matter how hard he tried, satisfaction remained just out of reach. One day he paused. He began to notice what he wanted without fear or shame. He started small, refusing requests that drained him, speaking his truth gently but firmly, spending time in reflection and solitude. Slowly he discovered a wellspring of strength and joy he had never realized existed. People noticed the shift, not because he was seeking attention, but because his energy was authentic and whole. That is the transformative power of self-love. Self-love is not only internal, it is also expressed in the way you interact with the world. When you respect yourself, you set boundaries naturally. You say no without guilt, and yes without compromise. You choose people, work, and experiences that honor your worth. And paradoxically, by loving yourself first, you become more capable of loving others fully, deeply, and freely, not from neediness, but from abundance. But be honest with yourself. Self-love is not easy. The voices of doubt, fear, and past conditioning are loud. They may whisper, "Selfishness is wrong. You shouldn't put yourself first. Others' needs are more important than yours." These voices are remnants of patterns that have been with you since childhood, patterns of seeking validation, of bending to please, of measuring worth externally. And recognizing them is part of the process. Awareness is the first act of liberation. Start by practicing small acts of self-kindness. Speak to yourself with warmth instead of criticism. Celebrate small victories. Protect your time. Allow yourself rest without guilt. When you do something that brings you joy, do it fully, without apology. These are not trivial actions. They are the foundation of a life lived in alignment with your soul, a life where self-love is not abstract, but lived, embodied, and undeniable. Another vital aspect of self-love is forgiveness. Forgive yourself for past mistakes, for moments when you gave too much, for times when you sought approval at the expense of your peace. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is clarity. It allows you to release the chains of guilt and regret, and it creates space for the life you are meant to build, one guided by self-respect, wisdom, and intentionality. Imagine for a moment a life where your relationship with yourself is strong, steady, and nourishing. When you wake up, you feel seen, valued, and whole. You no longer chase validation because you have already recognized your worth. You engage with the world from a place of fullness rather than emptiness. Every choice becomes an act of alignment rather than desperation. Every connection becomes a partnership rather than a transaction. This is not an unattainable dream. It is a reality waiting for you on the other side of conscious self-love. Self-love also teaches resilience. When challenges arise, when people disappoint you, or when circumstances are difficult, a grounded sense of self allows you to navigate life with calm strength. You are not dependent on external circumstances to define your peace. You hold it within yourself, and that inner foundation becomes unshakable. Now take a deep breath and let this sink in. Self-love is a practice, a choice, a daily commitment. It is noticing yourself without judgment. It is prioritizing your well-being without shame. It is protecting your energy, honoring your boundaries, and embracing your worth fully. The journey is not about perfection. It is about presence, awareness, and consistent action. And as you carry this understanding forward, you are ready for the next step, learning to set boundaries that honor your self-love, to say no when necessary, and to protect your energy without guilt or fear. In the next chapter, we will explore how the simple yet profound act of saying no can transform your life, deepen your self-respect, and stop the endless cycle of chasing others. Self-love is not abstract. It is not optional. It is the foundation of everything you are building in your life. Embrace it, nurture it, and allow it to guide every decision, every thought, and every interaction. The journey is just beginning, and the power you are cultivating now will shape everything to come. Chapter 4. The Power of Saying No. Imagine standing at a crossroads, dozens of paths stretching out before you, each one marked with someone else's expectations, demands, or judgments. The temptation to say yes, to keep moving, to keep pleasing, to keep chasing approval, feels overwhelming, but in that moment, one simple word holds unimaginable power. One word that can change the direction of your life entirely. That word is no. Saying no is more than refusing a request. It is a declaration of self-respect, a boundary drawn firmly in the sand, a recognition that your time, energy, and peace are precious and cannot be surrendered carelessly. For years, many of us have said yes out of habit, fear, or obligation. We say yes because we want to be liked. We say yes because we worry that saying no will disappoint others. We say yes because we haven't yet learned that our own needs matter just as much as anyone else's. Every time you say yes when your heart says no, you are giving away a piece of yourself. You are investing your energy in someone else's priorities while neglecting your own. And over time, these small concessions pile up. They create exhaustion, resentment, and a quiet dissatisfaction that whispers in the back of your mind, "I am not enough. My needs are not important." Saying no is not just an act of refusal. It is an act of reclamation. It is saying, "I am enough, and my life matters." Consider the power of boundaries. Boundaries are invisible fences that protect your inner world. They are not walls meant to isolate or shut others out. They are protective measures that ensure your energy, focus, and emotional well-being are respected. Saying no is the first step in creating those boundaries. It is the way you tell the world, "My time is mine. My peace is sacred. My choices are my own." Let me share a story. There was a woman who constantly said yes to colleagues, friends, and even strangers, fearing that refusal would make her seem unkind or unreliable. She ended each day exhausted, stressed, and quietly bitter, wondering why no one seemed to appreciate her sacrifices. One day she experimented with saying no. The first time, her heart raced, and guilt gnawed at her. But she said it anyway. She was surprised to find that people respected her honesty. She felt a surge of liberation, a lightness she hadn't known for years. The word no, simple as it was, became a doorway to self-respect and freedom. Saying no is an art. It requires clarity about what you want, courage to assert yourself, and compassion, both for yourself and others. It is not about rejection or cruelty. It is about honesty. You cannot give fully to others if you are depleted. You cannot nurture, create, or love authentically if your energy is constantly drained by obligations that do not serve you. Think about your own life. Where have you said yes out of obligation, fear, or the hope of approval? Where have you sacrificed your peace for the comfort of others? These moments are opportunities for transformation. When you practice saying no, you are not only protecting yourself, you are teaching others how to treat you. You are setting standards, defining respect, and asserting the value of your presence. Saying no also creates space for the things that truly matter. Every time you refuse what does not serve you, you make room for what nourishes you. Time with people who uplift you, work that excites and challenges you, moments of rest, reflection, and self-care. Saying no is the act of clearing the clutter so that your life can align with your priorities and your deepest desires. And yet, saying no can be uncomfortable at first. Guilt may arise, fear of conflict may surface. Voices from your past, from conditioning, may whisper, "You're being selfish." But here is the truth. Saying no is never selfish when it comes from self-respect. Selfishness is taking without awareness or compassion. Saying no is choosing wisely, acting consciously, and honoring your inner world. The beauty of no is that it is empowering. It is a practice of self-love in action. Each no strengthens your sense of self. Each no reinforces the truth that your boundaries are important, your time is sacred, and your life is yours to live fully. Over time, the word no transforms from a moment of fear into a daily affirmation of power and presence. Consider the ripple effect. When you set boundaries and say no where necessary, your relationship shifts. People respond differently when they realize your energy is not limitless, your attention is not freely given, and your priorities are firm. The world begins to respect you in ways that begging for approval never could. And the most important relationship, the one with yourself, becomes stronger, steadier, and unshakable. Saying no is also an invitation to reflection. Every time you face a request, an obligation, or an expectation, ask yourself, does this align with my value? Does this serve my well-being? Will this bring me closer to the life I want to live? If the answer is no, then you have a right and a responsibility to refuse. This is not rejection. This is self-alignment. Imagine your life as a river. Every yes you say, out of obligation, is like diverting water from your main channel, sending your energy into places that do not nourish you. Every intentional no is a return to your natural flow, a reclaiming of your strength, a redirection toward what truly matters. The river becomes steady, powerful, and clear. It moves with purpose, rather than being pulled in countless directions. Now take a moment and feel the weight of this truth. Saying no is not a denial of others. It is an embrace of yourself. It is the declaration that your life, your time, and your energy are sacred. It is the realization that boundaries are not limitations, they are liberation. As you carry this forward, remember that the power of no will prepare you for deeper transformation. It will create space for self-love, for authentic connections, and for a life that no longer revolves around chasing others' approval. In the next chapter, we will explore the practice of letting go of the need for external validation, a practice that deepens the freedom created by saying no and anchors you firmly in your own worth. No is more than a word. It is a statement of self-respect, a tool of empowerment, and a gateway to the life you were always meant to live. Chapter 5. Letting go of approval. Picture this. You are standing in a crowded room, yet feeling utterly invisible. Around you, voices chatter, opinions collide, judgments hang in the air like heavy smoke. And there you are, straining to be seen, hoping that if you just say the right words, smile in the right way, or act in a way that pleases everyone, finally, someone will notice you. Finally, someone will approve. Finally, someone will say, "You are enough." For too long, many of us live in this space, a space of longing, of chasing validation that never truly satisfies. Approval is fleeting. It is conditional. It depends on circumstances, moods, and perceptions that you cannot control. Yet we tie our self-worth to it, like a kite caught in someone else's wind, swaying, tugged, never fully free. The tragedy is subtle. It creeps into every decision, every interaction, every thought. Will they like me? Will they approve? Will I measure up? The moment you recognize this pattern, something profound begins. You see that approval is not a gift someone gives you. It is a freedom you claim for yourself. You begin to understand that your value is intrinsic, not negotiated. You begin to understand that no external voice can define your worth. Letting go of approval is not an act of rebellion. It is not arrogance or defiance. It is self-liberation. It is the quiet, deliberate act of turning inward and saying, I do not need anyone else to confirm my value. I am enough, simply because I am. And when you speak that truth to yourself consistently, the world around you begins to shift in response. Consider the subtle ways approval seeking shapes your life. How often have you changed your opinion to match someone else's? How often have you done something you didn't want to do, simply to avoid disapproval? How often have you hidden your true self, masking your thoughts, desires, and quirks, for fear of judgment? These are not small things. They are the threads that weave a life built on other people's expectations, rather than your own truth. I want you to imagine something for a moment. Imagine waking up and making choices purely based on your values, your desires, and your intuition, not on what others might think or say. Imagine acting from a place of alignment with yourself, rather than from fear of rejection. Imagine the relief, the liberation, the weight lifting off your chest. This is the freedom that comes when you release the need for approval. But releasing approval is not instantaneous. It requires awareness, courage, and patience. The first step is noticing when you are seeking it. Pay attention to the moments when your decisions are driven more by fear of judgment than by what feels right for you. Recognize the patterns. Name them. Here I am, bending to please someone else. Here I am, giving too much, hoping for acknowledgement. Awareness is the spark that ignites change. Without it, the habit continues silently, invisibly, like roots growing beneath the surface. Next comes permission. Give yourself permission to act authentically, permission to express your opinions, to pursue your passions, to set boundaries, and to embrace your desires without apology. Permission to stand in your own light, even if others do not recognize it. Each act of authenticity is a declaration of independence from the chains of approval. Each time you honor yourself, you weaken the grip of external validation. Let me share a story. There was a young man who spent years trying to impress everyone around him, friends, family, colleagues. He was exhausted, anxious, and constantly worried that he was falling short. One day he decided to try something radical. He would make a small choice entirely for himself. He chose a path, a project, and even a hobby that had no audience, no praise, no guarantee of recognition. The joy and satisfaction he felt were immediate. Slowly he realized that the approval he had been chasing was never as satisfying as the alignment he found within. That small act of self-prioritization became a catalyst for a life of authenticity. Letting go of approval also teaches discernment. When you are no longer tethered to the constant need for validation, you see more clearly who and what deserves your energy. You recognize relationships, commitments, and opportunities that are genuine versus those that are conditioned. You stop giving yourself away to those who will never value your worth, and start investing in spaces that nurture and respect you. And yet, there may be fear that people will reject you, disapprove, or even leave. This is natural. Fear will arise because seeking approval has been a survival mechanism for so long. But courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is acting in spite of it. Every time you choose yourself over approval, you strengthen your courage, and with it, your freedom. Another essential aspect of letting go of approval is self-compassion. You may stumble. You may fall back into old patterns. You may say yes when you want to say no, or seek validation unconsciously. This does not mean failure. It is part of the learning, the practice, the journey. Treat yourself with patience, understanding, and gentleness, just as you would someone you deeply care for. Self-compassion reinforces self-love, And self-love is the foundation for releasing approval. Imagine the life you are building. Each step away from approval is a step toward authenticity, presence, and peace. Every decision you make for yourself, every boundary you uphold, every yes that comes from genuine desire, these are acts of sovereignty. They are the building blocks of a life where you no longer chase, but instead radiate from the fullness within. Now take a moment to breathe and feel the truth of this. Approval is not a necessity. Recognition from others is not a currency that buys worth. Your value is inherent, unshakable, and independent of anyone else's opinion. You have the right to live fully, to act authentically, and to honor your needs. This is liberation. This is power. This is self-love in its purest form. As we move forward, this principle will become a cornerstone. In the next chapter, we will explore how to cultivate inner validation, how to trust yourself completely, and how to turn inward for the guidance, affirmation, and love that your heart has been seeking all along. The journey from seeking to knowing, from chasing to being, is about to deepen. Letting go of approval is not the end. It is the gateway to freedom, confidence, and the radiant life that begins when you stop seeking outside what already exists within you. Chapter 6. Cultivating Inner Validation. Close your eyes and imagine for a moment that you are standing alone on a mountaintop at sunrise. The sky stretches endlessly above you, painted with shades of gold and pink. The wind brushes against your skin, carrying with it a quiet reminder. You are here, you exist, you matter. In this moment, no applause, no approval, no recognition from others is needed. Everything you need is already within you. This is the essence of inner validation, the deep, unshakable knowing that your worth is inherent, unassailable, and completely yours. For too long, many of us have looked outward for confirmation, seeking approval from friends, colleagues, and even strangers. We measure our value by likes, comments, compliments, or recognition, and while these things may feel good momentarily, they are fleeting and unreliable. True confidence, true fulfillment, comes from learning to validate yourself, to see, honor, and affirm your own worth without depending on anyone else. Inner validation begins with awareness. It begins with noticing the moments when your sense of worth wavers because of external opinions. Perhaps someone criticized you, and you felt small. Perhaps someone ignored you, and you felt invisible. Perhaps you compared yourself to someone else and felt inadequate. These are opportunities, not for judgment or shame, but for recognition. They are reminders that your inner compass, not external voices, must guide your sense of value. Consider this: validation is not about ego or arrogance. It is about truth. It is about acknowledging that your thoughts, feelings, and experiences are real, important, and deserving of respect. It is about telling yourself, I am enough, just as I am. When you cultivate this inner validation, you no longer bend or break to fit the expectations of others. You no longer measure your worth by the reflection in someone else's eye. You begin to stand firmly in your own reality, grounded and unwavering. Let me share a story. A woman I once knew spent her entire life seeking approval from her peers, always adjusting her opinions, choices, and even her personality to fit in. She was exhausted, anxious, and constantly questioning herself. One day, she began a simple practice. Every morning, she would acknowledge one thing she appreciated about herself: a talent, a trait, or even a small accomplishment. At first, it felt strange, almost uncomfortable, but over time, a profound shift occurred. She no longer needed validation from others to feel worthy. Her confidence grew naturally, her presence became radiant, and as she affirmed herself internally, the world began to respond to her authenticity in ways she had never imagined. Cultivating inner validation is also about listening to yourself deeply, without judgment. Pay attention to your needs, your feelings, your desires. When you notice a thought that urges you toward self-criticism, pause, ask yourself, is this true, or is this just the voice of fear or habit? When you identify the truth, speak to yourself with kindness. Affirm your choices, honor your boundaries, celebrate your efforts. Every time you do this, you strengthen your inner foundation. Another vital aspect of inner validation is embracing imperfection. Many of us withhold validation from ourselves because we feel we must be perfect, or at least meet some internal standard of success. But perfection is a mirage. Life is messy, unpredictable, and imperfect, and so are we. When you allow yourself to be human, with flaws and mistakes, you cultivate compassion for yourself. This compassion is a cornerstone of inner validation. It tells you that your worth does not depend on flawless performance, external recognition, or constant achievement. You are enough simply because you exist. Inner validation also changes the way you interact with others. When you no longer rely on external approval, you engage with people from a place of abundance, not needing. You can offer love, support, and attention freely, without expectation of reciprocity. You can communicate honestly and assertively, because your self-worth is not contingent on others' reaction. And paradoxically, this inner strength often draws more authentic and meaningful connections into your life. People are naturally drawn to those who are whole, confident, and self-validated. Let's pause for a moment and reflect on a key truth. Inner validation is a practice, not a destination. It requires daily attention, reflection, and conscious choice. Some days will be easier than others. On some days, external voices may feel louder, more compelling, more persuasive. But the power lies in your ability to return to yourself, to reaffirm your worth, and to recognize that no one else can define it. The voice that matters most is your own. Here is a simple practice you can begin today. Every morning, look in the mirror and speak to yourself as if you are your own most trusted friend. Say something that acknowledges your worth, honors your journey, or celebrates a quality you possess. It could be as simple as, I am strong, I am capable, I am worthy of love and respect. Do this consistently, and notice how it shifts your perception, your confidence, and your presence in the world. Cultivating inner validation also means learning to trust yourself. Trust that your choices, your instincts, and your judgment are valid. Trust that you are capable of navigating challenges without constant reassurance. Trust that your inner voice carries the wisdom necessary to guide you. This trust is empowering. It frees you from the exhausting cycle of seeking external approval and allows you to make decisions from clarity, alignment, and self-respect. Imagine the life you are building. Every decision anchored in inner validation brings freedom. Every choice, guided by your own truth, strengthens your confidence. Every moment lived authentically becomes a declaration of your worth. And as you cultivate this inner foundation, the need for chasing approval, seeking validation, or bending to please others gradually fades away. You are no longer a reflection of anyone else's expectations. You are a whole, complete, and radiant being. As we prepare to move forward, understand this: inner validation is not optional, it is essential. It is the key that unlocks the freedom to live fully, love deeply, and act courageously. When you learn to affirm yourself, respect your needs, and trust your own wisdom, you create a life that is no longer dictated by external opinions, but guided by the quiet, unwavering strength within. In the next chapter, we will explore the role of emotional independence, how to maintain your peace, joy, and fulfillment, regardless of others' actions or reactions. This practice builds on the foundation of inner validation and brings a profound sense of freedom and empowerment to every aspect of your life. Inner validation is the light that illuminates your path. It is the voice that anchors you when the world feels uncertain, and it is the practice that transforms longing, doubt, and fear into confidence, clarity, and self-assurance. The journey continues, and your power lies within. Chapter 7. Developing Emotional Independence. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a storm raging outside, winds howling, rain pounding relentlessly against the windows. You are inside, safe and dry, watching the chaos without being swept away. This is the essence of emotional independence, the ability to remain grounded, centered, and whole, regardless of the storms that life and others may bring into your world. Too often we allow our emotions to be dictated by circumstances, by other people's moods, reactions, or decisions. A friend's criticism can send us spiraling. A partner's distance can make us feel abandoned. A colleague's disapproval can leave us doubting our value. When we rely on external factors for our emotional stability, we give away our power. We surrender the calm, the peace, the clarity that belongs solely to us. Emotional independence is the reclaiming of that power. Emotional independence is not about isolation. It is not about shutting out the world or refusing to care about others. On the contrary, it is about caring deeply while remaining unshaken by external chaos. It is about engaging fully with life, with relationships, with work, and with love, while maintaining a steady inner center. It is about learning that your happiness, your peace, and your fulfillment are your responsibility, not anyone else's. Consider the difference between dependence and independence. When we are emotionally dependent, we are like a leaf caught in the wind, tossed and turned by every opinion, every emotion, every judgment. When we cultivate emotional independence, we are like a tree, rooted deeply in our own soil, able to bend in the wind without breaking, able to weather storms without losing ourselves. Let me share a story. There was a man who had spent years seeking validation from his partner. Every mood swing, every disagreement, every absence left him anxious and unsettled. His sense of self-worth rose and fell like a tide with their approval. One day, he realized that his emotional state should not be contingent on another's behavior. He began to develop practices of grounding, meditation, journaling, self-reflection, and affirmations. Slowly, he learned to respond to his partner with presence rather than reaction, to feel emotions without being consumed by them, to love without losing himself. This was not easy, but it was transformative. He became emotionally autonomous, and in that autonomy, his relationships became richer, deeper, and more authentic. Developing emotional independence requires awareness. The first step is noticing when your emotions are being dictated by someone else. Pause and ask yourself, am I reacting to what is happening inside me or to someone else's behavior or opinion? This simple recognition is powerful. It allows you to step back from automatic reactions and respond with intention rather than compulsion. The next step is responsibility. Own your emotions fully. Do not blame others for the way you feel. Yes, their actions may trigger feelings, but your response is yours to manage. Emotional independence does not mean suppressing feelings or pretending nothing affects you. It means observing, processing, and choosing how to act from a place of grounded awareness rather than unconscious reaction. Another vital aspect is self-soothing. Emotional independence relies on your ability to comfort, reassure, and regulate yourself. When anxiety, anger, or sadness arises, ask, how can I nurture myself in this moment? What can I do to regain calm and clarity? This might mean taking a walk, writing in a journal, practicing deep breathing, or speaking affirmations aloud. The point is to develop an inner toolkit that allows you to navigate emotions without relying on external validation, control, or rescue. Emotional independence also requires clear boundaries. When you are emotionally autonomous, you recognize what is yours and what belongs to others. You allow others to have their feelings without absorbing them or carrying their emotional burden. You learn to empathize without enmeshment. This distinction creates freedom. Freedom to love deeply without being consumed. Freedom to support without sacrificing your peace. Freedom to engage fully without losing yourself. Imagine a life where emotional independence is your default state. You receive criticism without taking it personally. You face rejection without doubting your worth. You experience conflict without losing clarity. You love deeply without fear of abandonment. You create, work, and live with joy because your happiness is no longer contingent on anyone else's choices or reactions. This is freedom. This is power. It is important to note that emotional independence is a practice, not a fixed state. Some days you will feel shaken, triggered, or reactive. That is natural. What matters is the intention to return to your center, to respond with awareness, and to nurture your inner stability. Each moment of conscious choice strengthens your independence, deepening your emotional resilience. One practical exercise to develop emotional independence is this. Whenever you feel triggered, pause and identify the emotion. Label it without judgment: anger, fear, sadness, frustration. Then ask yourself, is this emotion mine, or am I absorbing it from someone else? Finally, take a step to regulate and soothe yourself. Breathe, move, reflect, or affirm your inner strength. This cycle of recognition, ownership, and self-soothing gradually rewires your emotional patterns, making you less reactive and more grounded. Emotional independence transforms relationships. When you stop depending on others for your emotional stability, you interact with them from a place of strength rather than neediness. You communicate more clearly, set healthier boundaries, and foster connections that are mutual, authentic, and empowering. Others respond to strength, not desperation, to presence, not clinginess. Ultimately, emotional independence is an act of self-love. It is the understanding that your peace, joy, and fulfillment are sacred responsibilities you carry for yourself. It is the quiet, unwavering knowledge that no external force can rob you of your inner calm unless you allow it. It is the freedom to live fully, to love freely, and to move through life with confidence, resilience, and grace. As we prepare to move forward, understand this: developing emotional independence is not a rejection of connection. It is the foundation for authentic connection. It allows you to engage fully with the world without being defined, destabilized, or diminished by it. In the next chapter, we will explore the power of self-compassion and how embracing your humanity amplifies emotional independence, grounding you further in love, strength, and freedom. Emotional independence is the calm at the center of your storm. It is the strength that carries you when life is unpredictable, and it is the practice that transforms reactions into responses, dependence into autonomy, and chaos into clarity. Your journey toward unshakable inner freedom continues here, in this powerful, steady space that belongs entirely to you. Chapter 8. Building Self-Trust and Intuition. Imagine standing at a crossroads at night. No signs, no map, no one telling you which path will carry you forward. The world around you is quiet, still, almost breathless, and in that silence there is one thing you can hear clearly: the soft, steady whisper coming from within you. A whisper that says, "This way." Most people ignore that inner voice. They hesitate, they question, they wait for someone else to confirm what their heart already knows. But life changes, truly changes, the moment you learn to trust yourself. The moment you realize that within you lives a compass that has been guiding you all along. That compass is your intuition. That trust is your power. Self-trust is not something you stumble upon. It is something you build, layer by layer, moment by moment. And once you build it, everything changes. Decisions become clearer, doubt becomes quieter, and your sense of direction becomes stronger than the noise around you. This chapter is about awakening that inner guidance and learning to follow it with confidence, conviction, and inner strength. Let's begin by acknowledging something powerful. You already know far more than you think you do. You already feel the truth long before your mind can explain it. You already sense what is right for you, even when the world tries to convince you otherwise. The challenge isn't intuition. The challenge is trusting it. Trust is built through experience, and self-trust is built through honoring your own experience. Think of the moments in your life when you suddenly knew something, without evidence, without logic, without explanation. Maybe it was a relationship that didn't feel right, a job that drained you, an opportunity that lit up your spirit, a decision that seemed risky but felt true. You felt something deep inside you, long before your mind could make sense of it. That feeling was not random. It was wisdom, ancient, internal, profoundly personal. The world often teaches you to look outward for answers, to follow rules, to seek approval, to obey expectation. But the deepest answers, the ones that shape your destiny, are found inward. Intuition is not mystical. It is simply the intersection of your experience, your awareness, and your inner intelligence. It speaks in sensations, in subtle signals, in gut feelings. When you suppress it, life becomes confusing. When you follow it, life becomes aligned. But how do you build self-trust when doubt has been your companion for so long? You begin by listening, truly listening. Pay attention to the signals your body sends you. Notice what expands your energy and what constricts it. Notice what brings you peace and what creates tension. Notice the decisions that feel heavy and the ones that feel light. Your body is honest long before your mind is. Trusting yourself starts with understanding that your inner signals are not random. They are messages, and they are meant to guide you. Self-trust also grows through honoring your needs. When you say yes to things that drain you, you weaken your trust in yourself. When you silence your feelings to please others, you fracture your inner relationship. But when you set boundaries, when you speak up, when you honor what you feel, even when it's uncomfortable, you send a powerful message to yourself. My voice matters. My feelings matter. My truth matters. Every time you act in alignment with your own needs, your self-trust strengthens. Another essential part of building self-trust is allowing yourself to make mistakes. Mistakes are not evidence of failure. They are evidence of courage. They prove that you are willing to try. Mistakes teach you. They refine your intuition, they sharpen your awareness, and they remind you that your worth is not dependent on perfection. The more you allow yourself to learn through experience, rather than paralyze yourself with fear, the stronger your inner guidance becomes. Intuition thrives in stillness. When your life is filled with noise, distractions, and constant external input, your inner voice is drowned out. Give yourself moments of quiet, even a minute of breathing deeply, closing your eyes and listening inward, can reconnect you to your intuition. In silence, your truth becomes louder. In stillness, clarity rises to the surface. Let me share a simple but powerful practice. When faced with a decision, big or small, ask yourself one question. Does this feel like peace, or does it feel like pressure? Peace is your compass. Even when the decision is challenging, even when the path is uncertain, genuine alignment feels like inner quiet, a gentle yes. Pressure feels like force, like tightness, like something pulling you away from yourself. That distinction alone can change the way you navigate your life. Building self-trust is also about believing that you can handle whatever comes. Doubt often whispers, "What if you choose wrong?" But self-trust responds, "Even if I stumble, I will learn. Even if I fall, I will rise." When you trust your ability to navigate outcomes, all outcomes, you become fearless in your decisions. You stop seeking guarantees and start embracing growth. There will be moments when intuition calls you toward something no one else understands. There will be moments when your path diverges from what is expected. And in those moments, following your inner guidance will feel like an act of rebellion. But it is not rebellion. It is alignment. It is the courage to honor your inner wisdom above all else. As you build self-trust, you create a new relationship with yourself, one rooted in honesty, compassion, and respect. You stop abandoning yourself. You stop questioning your worth. You stop searching for answers outside of you that have been waiting inside you all along. And slowly, gracefully, you become your own source of clarity. In the quiet spaces of your life, in the pauses, in the breaths, in the moments where you check in with yourself, your intuition will begin to speak more clearly. You will sense its guidance, not as a whisper of uncertainty, but as a steady, confident knowing. You will begin to trust your inner compass with a strength that cannot be shaken. And now, as this chapter gently closes, ask yourself this: what would my life look like if I trusted myself completely? The answer to that question is not meant to intimidate you. It is meant to awaken you, because the path toward that future, the path toward unwavering self-trust and intuitive clarity, begins right here, right now, with one courageous step inward. In the next chapter, we will explore how to deepen that courage by embracing personal responsibility, not as a burden, but as the ultimate act of empowerment that shapes the life you are destined to live. Your intuition already knows the way. Your self-trust is the bridge that will carry you there, and your journey continues. Chapter 9. Only the spoken audiobook narration. There comes a moment in every person's life when the familiar cracks open, and something inside whispers, "This can't be all there is." Most people name that whisper. They lower the volume, distract themselves, and return to the routine that numbs them. But you are listening, and that alone places you in a different category. Because chapter 9 is not about breaking the world. It's about breaking the invisible wall inside you, the one made of doubt, hesitation, and the silent pressure to stay the same. Right now, as you hear my voice, I want you to imagine standing in front of a door that has always been in your life, yet you've never truly seen it. A door with no label, no handle, no explanation. It has waited through every season, every struggle, every victory. And today, in this chapter, that door finally reveals itself. This chapter is about stepping through it. We all carry versions of ourselves that feel unfinished. The confident version that only shows up once in a while. The disciplined version that appears and disappears like an unreliable memory. The brave version that whispers in your darkest hours, even when fear tries to drown its voice. Chapter 9 is where those buried versions rise to the surface. Not because life becomes easier, but because you become clearer. Clarity is not a loud awakening. It's quiet. It's the moment you stop searching for permission and realize the power has been inside you the entire time. And yet, clarity demands something from you. It asks for honesty. It asks for responsibility. It asks for a willingness to see what you've avoided. So in this chapter, we walk into that honesty together. The truth is simple. You cannot transform anything in your life while protecting the same patterns that limit you. Change does not arrive gently. It walks in with questions, sharp ones, unsettling ones, that shake the dust off your old beliefs. And the biggest question of all is this: are you ready to let go of the version of yourself that survives so you can meet the version of yourself who lives? Most people are not. They want transformation without friction, growth without discomfort, evolution without the shedding of old identity. But nothing in nature expands without pressure. Not a seed, not a mountain, not a human being. So here in chapter 9 we embrace that pressure. We stop running from what challenges us and start asking what it has come to teach us. Because every difficulty you face carries a message. Every delay holds a lesson. Every disappointment reshapes the path you walk. Life is not punishing you. It is preparing you. It is calibrating your strength, sharpening your awareness, and deepening your capacity. This is the chapter where you no longer see challenges as enemies, but as invitations. And something incredible happens when you shift your perspective like this. The world around you doesn't magically change, you do. Your posture changes, your tone changes, your choices change. You stop living from fear and start living from intention. You stop waking up to survive the day and start waking up to shape it. And in that shift, you begin to notice things you never noticed before. The habits that drain you, the voices that influence you, the environments that limit you, the thoughts that sabotage you. Awareness is powerful. It's the flashlight that reveals the corners of your mind where old beliefs still hide. And the moment you see them, they start to lose control. Because nothing can control you once you understand it. But awareness alone isn't enough. There must also be courage. The courage to act on what you now see. And that is where many people stop. They discover the truth. They feel the truth. But they refuse to live the truth. Not you. Not anymore. Chapter 9 is the chapter of movement. The chapter of decisions that don't wait for confidence. The chapter of actions that don't wait for perfect timing. The chapter where you stop negotiating with fear, stop bargaining with doubt, and stop treating your potential like an optional path. Because your life is not a rehearsal. This moment is not a placeholder. What you do now, not someday, not eventually, not when you feel ready, is what shapes the rest of your story. And that story deserves better than hesitation. It deserves courage. It deserves momentum. It deserves a you who shows up fully. So I want you to breathe for a moment and recognize something powerful. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not broken. You are simply arriving at the part of your life where you finally take ownership of your becoming. Everything before this chapter was preparation. Every setback strengthened you. Every doubt humbled you. Every challenge shaped your resilience. And now you stand at the threshold of a new identity. One built not from fear, but from truth. As this chapter comes to a close, I want you to hold one thought gently, but firmly. You are not here to repeat your life. You are here to expand it. And the moment you begin to act like your future deserves your full commitment, your entire reality shifts around you. Let this chapter be the moment you choose expansion over comfort, growth over fear, and truth over the familiar. Because in the next chapter we step deeper into the transformation you have already begun. And what waits there is a version of you you've been trying to meet your entire life. Chapter 10. Only the spoken audiobook narration. There are moments in life when something inside you suddenly wakes up, not with a loud crash or a dramatic sign, but with a quiet realization that everything you've been carrying, everything you've been battling, everything you've been chasing has been shaping you into someone far more capable than you ever imagined. And in this moment, right now, as you listen, I want you to picture the exact second when dawn first touches the horizon. The sky is still dark, the world is still asleep, but that thin line of light, that single fragile streak of gold, announces that the night is over. Chapter 10 is that light. It's the moment your inner horizon shifts. It's the moment you realize you are stepping out of who you were and into who you are becoming. This chapter is about reclaiming the part of you that has been waiting patiently, quietly, beneath layers of doubt and hesitation. It's about the power that grows when you stop measuring yourself by your fears and start measuring yourself by your potential. Because potential isn't a fantasy, it's an internal truth, a living pulse inside you. You don't earn it, you discover it. And once you do, once you feel it clearly, you begin to understand something life-changing. You were never lacking strength. You were only lacking permission. Permission you thought the world had to give you. But it never did. It never will. That permission has always belonged to you. Chapter 10 is where you take it back. You see, most people don't realize how deeply their lives are influenced by invisible narratives, stories about what they can and cannot do, who they should and should not be, what they deserve and what they should settle for. Stories written not by their truth, but by their fear. These stories whisper things like, "You're not ready, you're not enough, you're too late." But the extraordinary thing is this: the moment you question the story loses its power. And the moment you begin to rewrite it, your life begins to change. This chapter invites you to rewrite, not the past, but the meaning of the past. Not the world around you, but the world within you. Not who you were, but who you are willing to become next. I want you to imagine holding a mirror. Not the kind that reflects your face, the kind that reflects your inner landscape, your hopes, your fears, your promises to yourself, your forgotten strength. When you look into that mirror, you don't see perfection. You don't see flaws. You see potential, raw, unrefined, waiting to be shaped. This chapter asks you to look at that reflection and finally acknowledge what you've avoided. You are capable of more than the limits you've accepted, not because you're special in some extraordinary way, but because every human being carries an untapped depth that can only be revealed through courage. And courage is not loud, it is quiet, it is steady. It is the voice that says, "I don't know exactly how this will unfold, but I will take the next step anyway." For so long you've been taught that transformation arrives after everything falls perfectly into place. But the truth is different. Transformation begins the moment you choose to move forward, while everything still feels uncertain. Growth does not wait for clarity. Clarity grows out of movement. And this is where Chapter 10 becomes a turning point. Because here, you stop waiting for the perfect moment. Here, you stop waiting for motivation to arrive like a sudden spark. Here, you stop waiting for someone else to validate your path. Here, you begin. Not boldly, not flawlessly, but truthfully. Because honest beginnings are the strongest beginning. You've spent chapters learning about awareness, strength, resilience, and identity. Now it's time to turn that knowledge into momentum. How? By choosing one truth, a simple but powerful one. Your life expands the moment you do. When you expand your thoughts, your life expands. When you expand your courage, your path expands. When you expand your belief in yourself, opportunities expand around you. Reality isn't fixed. It bends toward the direction of your inner transformation. And every choice you make in this chapter is a signal to the universe about who you are becoming. And here is something deeper to hold on to. You do not need to transform everything at once. You only need to transform the next step. Because every great becoming begins with a single shift. A shift in awareness, a shift in decision, a shift in self-respect. In this chapter, you choose that shift. You choose to stop playing small. You choose to challenge the quiet limits that have shaped your life. You choose to rise, even if the rise feels slow. You choose to trust yourself. And that trust is the beginning of everything. As this chapter nears its close, breathe in the truth of where you now stand. You are not who you were when you started this journey. You have peeled back layers of old stories, old fears, old limitations. You have stepped into a deeper relationship with your own strength. You are becoming someone who acts with intention, someone who grows with awareness, someone who refuses to abandon their own potential. And the path ahead, it holds more than answers. It holds revelations about your power, your resilience, your ability to reshape your life from the inside out. Chapter 10 is the awakening. The next chapter is the and as you step forward, you carry with you a new truth. A quiet, steady confidence that whispers, "I am ready for what comes next."